Welcome to the FNO InsureTech podcast, a place where movers and shakers from all points within the insurance ecosystem gather and discuss all things InsureTech. Here are your hosts, Lee Boyd and Rob Beller.
Hey, everybody, and podcast world, welcome to another podcast. Are we at 300 yet, for God's sake?
I feel like for the whole year we've been at 300.
Podcast episode of FNO InsureTech. That's right. We're back once again. Why? Because it's bottomless. We just heard a statistic today on this, not during our podcast, but afterwards, that if you are in Manhattan.
That was on the podcast.
It was during the podcast? I think it was after it's after we stopped recording. If you were in Manhattan and you ate out every lunch and every dinner 7 days a week, how long would it take you to eat at every restaurant in Manhattan? Lee?
I know the answer, so I really can't guess.
What's the answer?
I think it's 6 years.
We were told 6.5 years.
6.5 years.
There's so many restaurants there. 6.5 years.
But there really are. But if you think about, what is that, 600 a year times 6 years, 36? That's a lot of restaurants.
Well, it's 720 a year, right? 2 a day.
Well, if you're that good at math, then yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, show me up, but whatever.
I'm not. A lot. Let's just say a lot. What does that have anything to do with our podcast? I'm going to tell you. Okay,
Please.
First of all, I'm hungry. Okay, when he said that, I was like, oh man, I'd like some pizza. Huh?
I love pizza. You know I like pizza.
Is there good pizza in New York City?
There was when I was there.
Forget about it. Forget about it. But we have our guest today is in New York City. Mm-hmm. He's a former Googler guy who is now in New York City making his way in a company that I think is going to make it. What do you think?
I'm very excited about this company. I've been keeping an eye on this company for about a year. I'm very excited about it.
Tell us a little about Kyber.
Kyber is a AI native software that is coming in to assist adjusters, carriers, TPAs, MGAs with letters, documents, things like that. I don't want to give away everything that it is, but it is a core product to assist and make people's lives better and easier, more compliant, all sorts of things. And I'm very excited about what they're doing.
Right. This is on the claims side, mostly, yes?
Yeah, today that's what we talk about, but the future is who knows.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. There's lots of possibilities. And Arvind Sontha is a very interesting, dynamic young man who's making his way, came up with a great idea, and he's making his way. And I think
I can't wait for the audience to hear him. I first met him at a PLRD maybe earlier this year, and I said this earlier, but like he just lit up the room, and his excitement for what he is doing like has stayed with me. And so I think that the audience is going to really enjoy hearing what he's doing, and it's a name you're not going to forget.
Yeah. And for those people who don't work on claims, I think you'll still find this super interesting and intriguing. Also about how do you build a business, and how do you get started, and all answers. In fact, any answer to any question you need to know in the world. FNO InsureTech, we get that done, don't we, Lee?
That's true. That's what we are. That's who we are.
If there's any question that we've left unturned, is there?
We're in the same sentence as OpenAI, FNO InsureTech. Anything you want done or to know, you go to either one of those two sources.
There's just one question.
Today you chose us, and thank you.
Thank you. There's just one question I have that is unanswered right now.
What's that, Rob?
What's for lunch?
Well, why don't you go have a little snack while we all listen to the podcast?
That out, and we'll let all these people listen to our interview with Arvind Sontha, founder and CEO at Kyber. Hey, everybody, we're here with our guest, Coming to us from, where are you today?
New York.
New York. Brooklyn,
York.
the city? Where are you?
So technically, I live in Hoboken, New Jersey, right?
Okay.
But
Okay.
Okay,
our
we won't tell
office-
anybody that. That's all right.
But our office is in like Flatiron, Chelsea area.
Oh,
And
Very
I
cool.
love that area.
Very
yeah,
cool.
Yeah.
My
Great.
wife,
Cool.
my wife's on her way up there tomorrow. She'll be in Manhattan tomorrow.
Oh, really? No
Yeah,
way.
she's going to see
Guys,
Hamilton.
Guys,
The weather's
Right.
beautiful right now. It's
guys, we're here
beautiful.
to talk about Arvind and company.
You don't want to hear? You don't hear about my personal stuff?
No, we already have.
Oh, that's true. That's
Everybody should know before we have Arvind Sontha with us today, the founder and CEO of Kyber. But first, before we started, I had to endure listening to a conversation about Christmas lights, one of Lee's favorite topics.
true. It lasted all of 20
Apparently,
seconds.
Arvind also, that if you know anything about Lee Boyd, you know that the man is the king of Christmas lights.
Well, after I heard about the setup, I like that is definitely true. All right. And whenever I see those houses with like the radio hooked up,
I know what's going on in Lee's head. Lee's thinking,
I'm drawing up all my plans
See,
as we speak.
it seeps back into him every fall, and so
happens.
here we are. But we're not here to talk about Lee's Christmas lights.
No.
We could talk about Arvind. We could talk about your Christmas lights. But do you have Christmas
In
lights?
Hoboken, New Jersey.
unfortunately, you know, it's apartment life living, right? So unless
Okay,
we get
all right.
a little string of lights out on the
Okay.
out on the balcony.
All
But
right.
you know, my wife is Catholic, and so we set up a full Christmas tree, and we definitely get the full apartment, very Christmas cozy vibes for sure. But I am excited to get a full house with a full like, you know, music setup tied up to the lights. Like I'm totally looking forward to that. I say that now. Please fact check me like 5 years now, because once I go and I get my first setup done, who knows?
This is terrible.
You know, when you guys want to start talking about what we're here to talk about, just give me a hand signal.
So
You keep leading us down this path, Rob. I
No,
blame
it's-
you.
It's not me, it's you.
Well, let's
okay.
jump in.
No,
Let's talk about
Let's
it.
jump in. We have Arvind with us. Arvind, you're coming to us from New York, but where are you from originally?
Great question. I'm from LA. So actually, what is it? Technically Ventura County for those LA specific folks,
Sure.
right?
I grew up in Los Angeles. Yeah.
Really? Oh yeah. We're in LA.
I grew up in Downey, California.
Oh,
Downey
so
is just south of Los Angeles.
childhood best friend, best man at my wedding, grew up in Downey. But I grew up specifically in Simi Valley. So I was actually just back there earlier this week. Always going to be back in California, but I've been out in New York now for about 4-ish years.
Okay.
I've been, you know, used to live pre-COVID up in the Bay and then grew up in LA.
And where were you before New York?
So I used to live in the Bay Area. I was there for about like 4 years, working at Google, doing all sorts of fun applied ML stuff across like cloud and search and all that kind of fun stuff. COVID hit. I ended up back home in LA for about 7 months and then out in Hawaii for 9 months. So that was fantastic. And then, you know, I'd always wanted to move out to New York. I feel like it's kind of like a rite of passage thing, being out in New York for a couple years.
Yep.
You know, so a couple years, but guess what? You know, I met my wife actually in Hawaii and she's from the East Coast.
Oh,
And so
wow.
here we are 4 years later, just got married like 2 months ago, right?
Congratulations.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah.
And
But I
don't
will
worry
say-
about the
That's
whole
not good.
marriage thing. It just keeps getting easier. So just take it from me.
that-
I know.
Yeah. I don't know if I've heard that advice frequently.
No comment on that one.
Yeah. This is FNO InsureTech and Marital Advice. It's our new
There
podcast.
you go. Please
It's
give
our
me
new
all of the
slant.
speak that's, you know, it's
We thought we'd try something new. So before we kind of dig deep into everything, let's talk about Kyber for a minute. You're here
Yep.
representing Kyber. We heard about Kyber from one of your customers. He gave you a ringing endorsement, and that was Mr. Charlie Wedlin. And shout out to Charlie. But for all those people out there in podcast world who don't know what Kyber is, take a few minutes and tell us what the heck.
Totally. So, one, very grateful for Charlie's mentorship, guidance, and endorsement. He's meant a lot to Kyber for sure. But really, in a single sentence, Kyber is an AI native document generation and delivery platform built for claims teams. And what we focus on really is compliant, consistent, and personalized claims forms and correspondence at scale, right? And so really what the whole product is focused on, as we were kind of jumping in with carriers, we realized just how complicated getting that right is. And so it's been really fun getting to solve that problem, at least to an extent that we think seems like we're doing a pretty good job, but.
Expand a little bit on the problem that you're trying to solve, right? It's complicated. It's hard. I mean, is there more to it? Like, what are you truly trying to solve with your platform, your software?
Yeah. So I think we go back to, what does it mean to have compliant, consistent, and personalized forms and correspondence at scale? And so the compliant and consistent part, naturally, this is a heavily regulated environment. Being compliant is super critical. And, the country doesn't make that easy given the fact that regulations are naturally tricked over 50 states, right? So each and every single state, then tricked by each and every single business line. So being compliant in and of itself is kind of that challenge. Now you got to get it consistent. So you have this massive organization, every adjuster, every business user writes slightly different ways, in ways that aren't necessarily consistent or actually uphold how the brand itself wants to represent itself. And then you have the actual personalization aspect, right? How do I go about delivering that high quality end user experience to our policyholders, to our claimants, so that things are very easy to understand? And so when we jumped into carriers and we started to understand this problem, it was shocking to see that because of those three key pieces, claims workforce and like the overall claims organization was spending up to like 40% of their time just trying to solve this problem right? And then when we started to peel back the onion and look at like the existing tools that were there to basically solve this problem, really nobody had actually gone about it was really a lot of taking either, okay, how do we kind of build this ad hoc internally, or how do we go about just using kind of off the shelf, more horizontal tools to try to solve this specific problem, right? Which is super critical to ultimately how claims organizations need to operate. The other side of this too is that organizations just hate doing this, right? We have yet to meet a single adjuster that's like, oh boy, I get to write letters. Like, oh man, like, I'm jazzed.
Talk about
like
the truth.
We've yet to meet a single, we've talked to thousands upon thousands, if not like tens of thousands at this point of adjusters, and like have yet to meet a single one that's like, oh yeah, I get to write a letter. Like,
I can't wait to write letters.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And so it turns into this thing where it's like, I hate doing this. I have to do it. I need to slot in some time and like carve out this time in my schedule to do it. But I'm getting pulled between all these different claims that I'm getting assigned to every single day. I'm getting caught between these phone calls, these meetings, these different other like compliance checks and so on. When at the end of the day, carriers and TPAs just want to be compliant, right? Like they just want to be compliant. They just want to do right by the end policyholder, by the end claimant. And so really, we saw that as this really powerful opportunity to then go about building a solution to solve for that.
So let's talk a little bit about the AI side. What makes you different than a Word document that you cut and paste policy language and information? What makes your product different than the way it's being done now?
Yeah, great question. So at the core of the product is what I like to call AI templates, right? So you got your standard bread and butter templates. These are basically like, what you'd expect from any templating software. Hey, I put field in here, it creates and puts that into document there. The way an AI template works though is really you can think of it as this like underlying control structure that is actually like reacting to the claim and the information of the claim. So for example, you provide things like, let's say, you take like our partial denial AI template. You provide things like, hey, this is the claim summary. Here's the estimate information in terms of what payments we're making to say like, the the dwelling plus other structures and kind of the breakdown across RCV, net payment, deductibles, so on. And then the decision. We don't specifically make the decision on behalf of the adjuster. We just want to help with making this letter super fast and easy. And so we explicitly require the decision. And then we also have things that are nice, like quality of life things like quick decisions, one-click decisioning experiences, as well as then we actually look at the policy, like the actual contract that's in force at point in time. And now the AI template is basically reacting to that information and going out, building out things dynamically like the actual narrative for the document, like the actual payment tables, and then really critically extracting out the relevant and correct policy language and formatting it to match exactly like how it needs to go into that document. So what would have naturally been like, a multi-hour process, especially actually going in and like slating this into my schedule and my calendar, now becomes like a one-click experience where the AI template is writing just as good as your best adjusters. And the other thing that's really cool there is that because it's a one-click, 20-second experience, an adjuster can fit it into any part of their day.
Wow.
The one click an approval, or is the one click to say do this now?
The one clicks to say do this now, right? So you put the claim number in, all the data loads in, you click generate, you get a nice fully generated letter, right, in about like 20 to 30 seconds. And then now I can either modify things, add in other things. Let's say this is a property claim and like ALE applies in this standard case, right? And so I want to paste in like the ALE language after like the loss settlement language. And so the editor is also built to basically support making even the editing workflow super simple. And then you got in things like the actual review assignment, the one click in terms of like the send delivery, and kind of just streamlining that full end-to-end process. Because again, no adjuster enjoys writing these things.
Can it write it in other languages as well?
Yes, actually, that's actually been really powerful with carriers that we work with that are operating around like border states. So we have in-editor AI. So it'll do things like policy formatting to summarization to extending, rephrasing, and so on, but also translation. So the translation, you have like Spanish, Italian, French. We have feature requests for like Haitian Creole and Russian, which is very interesting as well. Those are like the top 2 language requests that we have. And the other side of that too is that it also, you could translate out specific document. I would caution against translating policy language, like be careful there.
Yeah.
But we have customers also set up bilingual templates because the editor AI functionality is also available for template editing, right? So you can have that same template in English and then also have like the Spanish version of it, or, insert X language version of it as well.
Cool.
I would assume integrations are pretty important to make all this work. Can you talk a little bit about integrations with claim systems or things? What are you doing there, and what does that look like?
Yeah, no, great question. I think so. Ultimately, what we found speaking with numerous CCOs is the fact that the single pane of glass experience is super critical, right? And so playing well with the ecosystem is basically table stakes to getting the product experience right.
Well,
so you look at some of the partners that we have.
Getting it, to get to the market, for God's sake.
Well, we announced our Guidewire partnership, I want to say last year around this time, and then we just officially launched the accelerator in the last month.
Oh, wow.
Right? And it's not, there were some other things that kind of happened there. We already had carriers on the accelerator, in the lead up, but of course the market itself wants like the signal that, hey, I can find Kyber listed in the Guidewire marketplace and so on. And so we're really excited about that launch. The way that I've explained to the team, it's kind of like our equivalent of launching in like the iPhone App Store.
Yeah, exactly.
Or like property and casualty, And then you look at some of our other partnerships with like Snapsheet, like PCMS and so on. And so the integrations are just super, it all goes back to that single pane of glass experience. If you have people needing to jump between multiple systems on top of all of the other systems that, adjusters have to kind of jump between, that makes things like really, really complicated. So with the integrations, the basic integration is just basically pulling down claim data, writing back that completed file. But with our more advanced integrations, we'll also do things like automatically writing compliance notes in, creating work plans or tasks on like review assignment, on review approvals, pulling in like the documents, making them available to be attached on send, and like all of those other kind of functionalities. And what we're really excited about now is basically the launch of flows. So the way that I've been talking about flows is, imagine you have the easy button for a document, right? Like the moment you decide you want this document, you just hit the easy button, except the person hitting the easy button is going to be the claim system. right? So claim system just says, okay, claim is ready. Let's just send out that document. Boom, hits the easy button, documents out. The other cool bit with our flows product is also you can hit the easy button and we can just drop the completed document onto the drafts pile of the adjuster, right? So boom, like this claim is ready for an ROR. Like why even have the adjuster have to go in, select that template, generate the document? Just drop an ROR that's pre-drafted and personalized for that claim right on their drafts.
So it's all about making the life easier for the adjuster, but doing it through accuracy and compliant, right? That's the whole thing.
Exactly. And I don't know, the way that I think about each of these like templates and each of these I think of each template as like a use case. And ultimately, because adjusters hate doing this, we just want to take each of those templates off of their plate, right? Like, why does an adjuster now still need to write and remember like 50 states compliance when it comes to status letters, right?
Yeah.
Like California or you take like New Jersey, for example, status letters differentiate whether it's first party or third party. You got like 30-day versus 45-day requirements and like all these things where, well, you already have it labeled in your claim system with regards to like the feature or the exposure, right? Like this is first party property damage, it's third party PD or so on, right? So you know, like, okay, this is the compliance flow that it needs to hit. Just configure the easy button, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm kind of curious. And maybe we need to go back a little further, but you said at the beginning of the podcast you're working at Google at Google. Now you're talking about writing letters for insurance.
Yeah, exactly.
I would love to hear the story that got you to this really crazy, unique case in the world of insurance. You got to give us the story. How did you get?
Let me guess. You're walking along a street in San Francisco and you trip and fall and bump your head.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And
Insurance letters.
Somehow there's an amazing transformation as a result of the trauma.
Yeah.
You think, I know, we'll write letters.
Yeah.
I mean, I can't even fathom how you get from this point A to point B. So please tell us.
Yeah, so really simply, it was a 3-year overnight journey, right?
3-year overnight journey.
Yeah, no. So to roll it all the way back, so while at Google, I knew that I was always going to start a company. It was pretty much guaranteed, and like you can see this in terms of priors, where like I actually had my first kind of like experience building a tech startup and just building something from the ground up. My freshman year of college, right? So I always knew it. I knew even going to Google, I was like, the reason I'm going to Google is so that I have time outside of Google to go build really cool things and then just also learn what it means to build really high quality software, right? And at Google, you definitely learn what it means to build really high quality software.
Yeah.
So when the stars aligned in terms of me thinking about what I was going to be doing next, I mean, the opportunity to go and swing big was never lost on me. And really, when I left Kyber, actually, or not when I left Kyber, but when I left Google to start Kyber, originally we had this big idea of actually starting an insurance company. And so we had this idea. I was like a tech lead for Google's like user modeling platform in terms of like user personalized models. And I was like, hey, like, I could build a user personalized model to like underwrite risk, right? And so really nobody doubted that I could do like the technical side of it. Everybody was like, yeah, but what about the distribution? And oh boy, distribution and insurance, like you talk about that. So
Yeah.
naturally, like any Google engineer does, I left Google and became a licensed property and casualty broker in New York.
Okay. Okay.
My excess and surplus lines license, got appointed by carriers. I sold home and auto insurance, and I was like, yeah, no, I'm going back to software. There's no way I'm going to build a $1 billion company selling home and auto insurance. And so, that was kind of that first experience of like wet behind the ears. Don't know what I'm getting into, but go and chase it kind of full steam ahead. So given all those insights that we had learned, so that period kind of pre-YC of like trying to spin up an insurance agency, actually selling policies, we'd really learned a lot about just the underlying operational stack of an insurer, of TPAs, of brokers, and so on.
You were an agent, correct?
Yes,
Okay.
correct. Yeah. And so we really saw that underlying like communication stack, and we saw what was happening with generative AI. And so some of the very first kind of iterations of software tools that we built going into YC for insurers was actually around automating like customer support and customer support based communications, right? So with that automation, we started to see these really cool like results and improvements, but we ended up seeing those just like, look, the customer support space super saturated, lots of players. It's not really kind of, and we also didn't see this pain point being like acute enough to the point where, hey, a platform shift is what's really critical. Is really about like repackaging data into responses and kind of going, forward from there. So Branch actually became a really critical early development partner. They allowed us to basically build all sorts of tools. So we built things across customer support, underwriting, operations, and claims. And like, I mean, you should see kind of like the very first prototype of this product that like Charlie had even kind of played around. Actually, the very first version of this product is me and Charlie being like, hey, I want you to draft like an ROR for this type of claim. And I was like, okay, I got it. And so it's like, playing
That's
around
awesome.
with my local. Then we scaled that up into basically like an API that would generate out of Google Doc. And then we scaled that out into like what is the first version of the platform today, which launched about May of last year, right?
Okay.
That's when we really said, okay, how do you holistically solve this problem? Because it wasn't especially for Branch, and after we validated it more deeply in the market, it wasn't just about drafting these letters. Like, it's not just like you can bring down the draft time of a letter and like that'll kind of, sure, that'll save you some time, but you don't see 5x letter cycle improvement times over just making a single letter go faster, right? So you got to think about the problem holistically in terms of like, who are all the stakeholders involved? How do they operate? What's going on when it comes to like the operations overheads and like effectively the total cost of operations with like platforms, right? And so that was really when we saw, okay, we can totally build a 10x better product to solve this massive pain point that is just like super acute, right? Especially when you look at kind of some of the competitive products in the market being like 20 plus years old, it really was time for a bit of a refresh, right?
Man, you're right. That's a 3-year overnight journey. I think it's fantastic. You actually went and got your agency like your broker like to sell insurance, and you're like, nah, I'm not doing that. But we'll just I still like insurance. We'll dabble.
But if you're selling policies, how did you get now Kyber I consider more on the claims side
Correct.
of the business. So if you were a broker, you were more on the production side, the sales side of the business. How did you get from there to here, or from here to there, or whatever?
Yeah. So with that specifically, what we ended up, the initial AI tools that we built, because what we saw on the broker side, for example, was I remember I was placing like a home policy out in California, and I needed like an additional earthquake endorsement, as you do in California. And getting a reply from the carrier that we were appointed from took, I want to say, about 10 days with repeated follow-ups just to figure out what the additional placing like endorsement or additional carrier program that I would actually have to be able to like bundle in with this policy. Of course, like that deal fell apart, but it really pointed to deeper kind of just communication tax issues within kind of the overall chain for insurance, right? Because why does it take 10 days to understand, okay, like this is the partner, basically carrier, to get the earthquake endorsement to then loop into this homeowner's policy? And so it was with that we then started really from kind of the customer support knowledge transfer side inside of insurance that then effectively made our way through over into communications also on the claim side, right? Because effectively that is what these letters are. These letters are heavily regulated communications, and they're critical touch points with like the policyholder, brokers, as well as like attorneys and so on, that are all interested parties with regards to the actual claim at hand.
So aren't you guys most effectively like an API inside of somebody's claim platform?
So really we're an interactive experience, right? So we have a full like web application. We primarily focus on how do adjusters actually like log in, select, manage compliance, manage all of these statutory state-based like requirements and so on, and actually manage that full workflow lifecycle through the document. With flows and straight through processing, more and more of these templates are basically being exposed as an API for the claim system to basically trigger. But really, it's actually a lot more about like the UI-based interactive experience.
I'm going to go back to your story about going from Google to where you are now, and we kind of skimmed over it pretty quick, but we've had quite a few companies on who have been through Y Combinator, and it seems like it's this level of credibility that companies can carry. And I'd love you to tell our audience a little bit about why you chose to go there, and maybe what you got out of that. I think that would be very interesting to hear.
Yeah, no, great question. So I think when you think about like the asymmetric upside of joining YC, it's really huge, right? So the downside is so the downside, the application itself takes an hour. The upside is that you now have access to this like massive network of founders plus support and all of these other things that we'll get into, because YC really focuses on how do we give our companies unfair advantages in the market, right?
Second time I've heard that today. That's funny. Go ahead.
Yeah. And then, the downside of not filling out that application is, okay, oh boy, it was like an hour, right? And anyways, a lot of the questions in the application are built to help you better think about your business anyways. So the thought exercise of even going through the application is actually beneficial, right? Now you get in and now you have to make this decision again of like, okay, well, do I want to give up, 7% of my company for their standard deal?
Right. It's not for free.
It's not for free. But when I think about it, I think about ultimately like as a startup founder, your job is to cultivate as much leverage as possible. And I can't think of an environment so early on in the because like as a small fledgling company, you effectively have like no leverage.
Right.
You have no leverage, you have no validation, you have nothing, right? And you're just trying to build something from nothing. And YC gives you actually a huge amount of leverage comparatively to companies of similar size, right? You think about the network, you think about the group partners. I have both of my group partners on a text message basis, and I text them regularly. I still have quarterly one-on-ones with them to kind of catch up, give them a state of the business, and like, just get information from their knowledgeable minds. And these group partners have all gone through like multi-exited, multiple 9-figure, 7-figure exits, right? So Jared Friedman was a partner that accepted us. I think Scribe is worth like $1 billion today. Pete Kumin, Optimizely, sold for like 9 figures. And then the company that bought it loved them so much that they actually rebranded the company back to Optimizely. So even though his company got acquired, yeah. And so just the network's crazy. The other kind of big thing too, and I'll tell you, this is actually a super underrated bit. And I think I got a really good opportunity to compare what it means to have community and not as a startup founder, because the first 5 to 6 months pre-YC, it was just me solo grinding, as like this insurance agency brokerage type thing that I'm figuring out kind of. So I had a couple founder friends that I could lean on for advice, but at the end of the day, versus getting into YC, night and day difference in terms of having a community that you can kind of lean on, a bunch of people who also are in that like random slice of the founder journey, who also relate to all of the crazy things that you're basically going through in terms of like, well, I'm technical, but now how do I go and find my first customers? How do I educate a value proposition? How do I price this and actually feel like happy about it, or just, that it was like the right approach? How do I balance bringing on the right customers? Because those first few customers early on in the journey are so critical to basically building out the product as well in the right way, right? And not a lot of people are going to relate to that phase, that 0 to 1 phase, right? And so there's all sorts of other things that YC does, but community is probably one of the biggest things when it comes to that, right? So
yeah,
it is lonely to be the founder, right? Like you're starting on your own, and you're thinking, I'm going to make this great product. I'm going to make a great product, and then you think, I got to hire somebody, I got to price it, I got to do this. So to have that to have that group of individuals that you could go to for that moral support, I mean, that's got to be worth its weight, I would think.
Absolutely. And I think, the best advice that you can get is typically from founders that are about 2 stages ahead of you.
Oh, good.
So
Yes.
so they're 2 stages ahead. And so they've made that first sales hire. They've made like the mess up with the exec hire. They've done, and so, or how do they go about hiring in terms of like what actually worked well to identify like that key critical talent, right? And then you call of like Bookface, which is full of like an entire knowledge base of advice that you can just jump into at any point in time. Actually, sales hiring was a recent thing that we just kind of went through, which was pretty painful because we had to go through like 3 different iterations in terms of getting it right? And so
Hard. That's one of your hardest hires. Because
especially because like as a technical person, when you think about like technical hiring, you're hiring with like pedigree and like references, and you can kind of see like, but sales is definitely
It's a
totally
feel.
like courage, charisma,
Yeah.
the ability to basically like, just build relationships and interact in like a nice, meaningful, right? So it's very different. Yeah.
It's hard. So is that something you've recently done? Have you recently brought on a salesperson or a sales team?
Yeah. So we've been hiring 2 account executives. Excited to share more about that. But I mean, actually, so for the conference cycle, he'll probably be around, which will be good. So
That's good for you. Yeah. You'll enjoy that.
How- but before there was somebody in place, there was you, I'm guessing, right?
Yes.
And so tell us, if you can, the story about how, I'm assuming Branch was part of your real big break. You gotta, if you will, I mean, you might have a better word for it than a big break, but how did that happen?
Yeah. Great question. So break, absolutely break, stroke of luck. Like I definitely consider, startups get their breaks of luck or their Branch was definitely, in terms of that early development partner, a stroke of luck with regards to this. And, you think about why. Typically, landing an insurance carrier as a customer is a 6 to 9 month, like average sales cycle journey.
Dude, I got news for you. That's optimistic timeline.
Yeah.
But go
I
on.
agree with you.
Yeah.
I agree with you. But Branch, we actually managed to bring on as an early customer in about 2 weeks, which is crazy. So
Wow. 2 weeks.
yeah. So going back to that initial tool that we built, right? So what did we build? How did we kind of communicate the value proposition? So communication, generating answers, resolving support tickets. What we ended up doing was we took a bunch of different insurance companies. We ended up scraping down their websites and then loading it into miniature personalized demos. Basically like a chatbot-esque experience that seemed knowledgeable based on anything that we could find about you on the internet, right? And then we would send out personalized cold emails with a screenshot of the AI working off of your data, right? That we could publicly find for you. So that cold email happened to land in Joe Emerson, Branch's CTO's inbox, and he was like, "Great cold email. I'm interested." And then he basically started to throw a bunch of within that 2-week period. He threw a bunch of different like edge cases, data, and different types of things our way before they actually first signed on to be like one of our first customers, right? From there, though, it was really exciting because they just kept bringing all sorts of different types of operational problems that they were really looking to solve, and that we had the ability to quickly iterate and be nimble on to solve for the organization. Which then led to, all of these different, basically all of these different AI operational tools from customer support, operations, underwriting, and claims. Right.
That's so cool. I think it's great to have a partner like that you can work and move with. And
I love the tactic. I love what a great tactic that was. Clever.
Yeah.
First of all, of course, you're fortunate that somebody actually read the email and didn't just press delete. But that aside, very clever. Good for you.
Yeah.
I will say those emails, I delete 99% of them, but I actually I actually moved forward with a customer the other day off of a cold email, and it was a big old contract. So like they work, they do work, which is really interesting. You got to figure out how to stand out of the crowd, of course. But
Yeah. The email marketing game right now has changed really dramatically. I don't know if I'd recommend what I did, because nowadays you put in an image, you put in some bolding, and you put in like a link, and boom, straight to spam, right?
straight to spam.
Straight to
IT
spam.
departments are like, do not open.
Yeah. So, and you have like big, like flashing, like red banners with like yellow and red that'll like
Out of the-
external, you know. And
That's
then like
true.
you don't even know
That's
if it's
true.
like a phishing test internally. So you click on, you know, so it's the email marketing game has changed dramatically over the last 2 years.
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, and like, you know, it just comes to like outreach. Like you have to go tell the world that like something that you've built is out there that you're looking to basically like, you know, experiment with. And I think YC does a really good job as well, actually, of like getting technical founders out of their skin to go about doing that, right? Because like, you know, I think a very old adage in Silicon Valley was like build and they will come. And I think as you see over the last like 2 decades, that is definitely not the case, right?
It's definitely not.
old days.
Yeah. And so I think for us, it was just trying to figure out how do you create as much value as possible in like the densest, smallest format to catch somebody's attention and be like, look, I think I can create value for you and here's why. Right.
So tell me this, what was the big lesson you learned at Google? I mean, that's like, you know, that's an amazing credential on a resume. You know, to say that you were, you know, there. And there's some other companies that rate at that level.
Yeah.
But former Google matters.
It's a big deal.
So tell us the big lesson that you got there.
So I think with Google, ultimately it's about quite literally the top percentile of just what it means to have engineering excellence. And the reason that happens is when you do peel back the curtain and you look at how Google has to operate, when you're serving 4 billion plus users globally, you have to rebuild the entire stack from the ground up. So everything other than I think the CPUs, and even that might be rebuilt at this point, is completely Google internally built. So all of the data center hardware, the networking, how they store and format data, all the way through like query execution engines, serving, and so on. That's why when you see kind of open source frameworks come out of Google, it's actually kind of rehashes of things that they've already had for about a decade, right? And so, you know, that when you think about like Google Cloud, for example, why do, you know, enterprise organizations get excited about Google Cloud? It's like, oh, hey, maybe we can get a little taste of what Google internally is already easily 5 years ahead with, because they have to rebuild the entire stack, right? So engineering excellence really critically is kind of what I see now. Where I'll say that that's kind of at odds with building a startup is that with startups, you have to iterate very quickly. And so you don't necessarily have this massive amount of time to build everything out all the way to this like insane level of excellence. It's really about understanding kind of the actual system architecture that allow you instead to iterate quickly with high quality, right? And so I think building constantly outside of Google as well as building inside of Google give me a really good understanding of what it means to strike the right balance in terms of building systems that both scale and iterate quickly, but to a high quality of engineering degree when it makes sense and not kind of over optimizing for that.
Right. Like I remember when my son was at Y Combinator and I talked to him all the time because it was so exciting. One of the things was 80-20. And that, you know, you want to take 20% of the effort to get it to 80%. Mm-hmm. And that's good enough, right? Because to get it to 100 takes that 20%.
Yeah. And it's that last mile, right? That last mile ends up, it's the exponential kind of effort in terms of getting it there. And that also comes, by the way, when it comes to how do you set expectations also with like early adopters as a startup, right? Like, I'm not going to lie, where we're at with Branch now, fantastic. But what they went through with, what we launched in like May of last year to like, probably the first few months, like there was some heartburn, there were like bugs and things. And I remember Charlie like hopped in and saw the product for the first time. He was like, oh, these are totally fixable. We're just going to be sniping bugs. And we're like, yep, sniping them around, right? Like, so it was just like boom, 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 sniping down these bugs and kind of getting them through. But yeah, we didn't launch with a 110% totally fleshed out, completed, perfect product. No, there was like so much iteration that kind of happens along the way. But we also had a great partner that was like ready for and prepared for that to get where we are now with them in terms of that. And then
That's awesome.
it's kind of coming in for next year, right?
We need to get you and Charlie on the podcast together so you guys can kind of give
Be a
each other
great case study there.
I'm down.
Why don't we do this? Let's end the podcast this way. So sometimes we ask our guest, what does your roadmap look like? You are living your roadmap right now. You are living what you're doing. And why don't you just take a minute or so and pretend that you're talking to somebody who says, why should I use you? Right? I have Word documents. I have other companies I could use. Why use Kyber?
At the end of the day, I think it just comes down to the fact that this is a critical problem in terms of how claims organizations operate. And with Kyber, you have a dedicated team that's seeing how to solve this problem in the best possible way across the industry, right? Today, the carriers that we work with represent about like $7 billion of gross written premium. So we're really already operating this at scale across, all of the different P&C lines that they're basically operating with. And it's really fun to see basically this mind share in terms of how do we solve this in the most effective and efficient way and just take that problem off your plate because you have a trillion other fishes that you need to fry, right? Like, why fry this fish? Like, we got it.
I love that. I think that's fantastic. So, yeah. Well, we thank you so much for coming on today.
Thank you guys so much for having me as well. This has been a blast. I am definitely going to be reaching out, Lee, with regards to how to set up my Christmas lights when I get there in 5 years. So please fact check me.
I'll be there, and I'll make sure to phone Rob so that he can be a part of the conversation with us.
Big mistake, Arvind. I mean, this big mistake. Don't do it.
Come over. We'll grill some hot dogs, some
It'll
burgers.
be fun.
Just
be a great time.
Just hit me up in about 6 weeks or so and say, hey, man, send me a picture. And when you see what this insane man does,
I need to see this.
You'll be out.
I need to see. Lee, what is your favorite song though for your Christmas lights? Like, what is the one that like when it goes on, you're like, oh yeah.
That's a good question. There's one actually by Michael W. Smith. It's a Christmas song that Michael W. Smith sings that I have that goes throughout the neighborhood, and like I love that one song. They just called Christmas Time. And for some reason, I can sync my lights to it, and I love it. So I don't know why, but when I think of Christmas, I think of that one song.
Nice. Yeah.
Well, good deal.
And next time I'm in New York, you're gonna have to take me out.
Oh yeah, for sure. I got
Hoboken, New Jersey.
I got a ton of good food recommendations, coffee, you name it. We'll have to go out and go out in town.
Be fun.
Let's do it. Recently, actually, just one last thing, we did do this study of like. Some of our, we just had a new employee join, and they were like, how long would it take me to eat through Manhattan? Oh. If you were to eat at a new place twice a day for lunch and dinner, take you 6.5 years, assuming no turnover.
7 days a week.
Yeah, 7 days a week.
There's so many places to eat Manhattan.
Just Manhattan. Don't even include Queens or Brooklyn or Staten Island or...
There's a lot of mouths to feed Manhattan.
Yeah. 6.5 years. It's crazy. So
there you go.
Well, listen, man, thrilled for your success and best wishes to you.
Thank you so much. Yeah, I really appreciate it. And thank you both again for having me today. I had a ton of fun. Yeah.
Bye now.
Cool.
Well, he was a delightful guy.
Dude, I met him in person at PLRB, and he lit up the room. He was like this ball of energy that walked over at the midpoint of the conference. Mm-hmm. And he's so great. He's just a friendly person. And that whole conversation I thought was great. Very, very happy for him. Very excited for what he can do. I'm very excited.
It ceases to amaze me the kind of people that are being attracted to insurance.
Yeah.
Once again, we've discussed this before. You and I have been in the industry long enough to know when it was just kind of a place where people found themselves
Stumbled
accident,
upon.
right?
Yeah.
And now you have these, brilliant people, right? Former Google, who are deliberately finding their way into insurance. It's such a evolution.
I think it's interesting. People find their way into insurance and then they realize insurance is so big that there's verticals within the vertical. And then they
Yes.
start finding the niche, starting off as selling. And then he's like, wait,
Right.
there's this whole there's claims. And whoa, that's where I can make a difference.
Yeah. Remarkable.
It is great that the industry is drawing such amazing people.
Yeah. Yeah. Not people
Yeah.
like me anymore.
Yeah, they're getting rid of the people like you, and they're getting good people in.
Just people like me. I don't know. Are you a new age guy or just a transitional guy?
I'm
Huh?
I'm a middle-aged guy. I still know the past, but I'm excited about the future.
Well,
don't
good.
know.
Well, in that case, we will we'll say thank you to Arvind for being with us. We've worked hard to get him on, and that was exciting. And thank all of you for being with us once again, to our engineering staff and everybody at Alacrity. We say thank you, and until next time.
Goodbye, everybody.